So, just another quick video about the volume of recordings in Virtual DJ and what issues you might run into, especially if you're using a more complex controller. So right now I have connected my Denon DJ MC7000, which is a more complex controller because it doesn't just do MIDI and a sound card. It can also take inputs of different sorts and act as a mixer and stuff like that. So that's a kind of a semi-complex controller, so it actually can bump into these kind of volume issues with recording. So what do I mean by that? Well, normally if you record, you just go in and you go into the recording here and you say, I want to start recording. And then of course, by default, it's set up to wait for first sound. So that's what it's doing right now. So if I press play, and cue again, and stop the recording, then of course I get a recording. So that's all nice and fine, but then what happens when I listen back to that recording? Well, it's set up to be stored here in VTJ recordings, so I can try and load it. And as you can probably already tell by this waveform, it's not really at the same volume if I try to play it. Okay, so this could be due to a lot of things, right? It could. So what's my master output look like? That looks all the way up, so that's fine. Actually not even really affecting it. And then where's my deck volume? It's all the way up, otherwise you'd also be able to hear it when I just play it. What about my 0 dB setting here? That's another option that can mess with this. But my 0 dB setting is set to default, which is nothing, so that's not the case. And also worth mentioning right now is that auto gain is set to off, so there's no auto gain on this, and that's not really for the recording. It's mostly so that we won't get confused when playing the recording back, because if we have auto gain on, that'll boost it right back up, right? So that's also off. But it wasn't any of these like natural things. So what is the problem? Well, another option it could be was maybe the master volume on the actual controller. So let's test that for just a second. So I go into record again, and I just get a new recording, play the track, mess with the volume, so you could of course hear that out loud through the speakers right now. But when I play back the recording, so I'm going back to here, and see now I've got a new test right here. So let's try doing that one. Oops, like that. And you can now see that that's not the case either. It doesn't, the master volume, the physical master volume on the controller doesn't change anything in the recording. So that's not the issue, but still when you compare this to the actual track, the actual track is much louder. So what is then the problem? Well, the problem is that you're recording from the controller. So if we go back into to settings and into the audio setup, you can see I have just basically pressed the Denon key and clicked apply. And that'll of course give the master and headphone out, but it also give me a record here. So what's the purpose of this record? Well, it's so that you can get other things recorded as well that goes into the actual controller. So you're not just recording whatever's in the Virtual DJ software, because like I said in the beginning, other stuff can get connected to the controller, and you may also want to record that as part of your recording of the mix. So that's why this is set up. But let's see what happens if I disable that. So right now I'm going to record, play the track, change the settings, so I remove this, click apply, just click the button again to get it back, click apply, like that. And I stop it and go back to recording. I stop the recording. So now I still have a new recording, number 3. Test 2 as it's called. So let's listen to that. You can actually already see it now here. The time where I disable the recording of the of the actual controller, the record entry, it switches back to controlling whatever's inside Virtual DJ, the regular, old-fashioned, simple way of recording, if you will, and then it goes right back up. And then when I add the recording entry again in my audio setup, it goes back down. Let's just listen to it. Just jump here. See it happening. So that's when I remove the recording, and that's when I add it back on. So the problem is actually, if you will, is actually this thing. So are you sure you want that thing? Well, maybe you do, because, for instance, we don't need to record this, but if I grab my microphone here, you can see, and I go into record, and I start recording. Let's just go back here, and you see it's this. I'm just going to see this is actually the setting. So I have my microphone in front of me now. I talk into it. So if I go into record, you can see that my mic input is getting recorded. But if I go back up here and report or disable the record here, click apply, go back into record, you can now see that me talking into the mic doesn't affect anything at all. So if you really want this, if you really want the microphone input and other inputs in the controller to be recorded, you need the string down here. So maybe you do. So that's just something you need to figure out. So if you do need that, what can you do? Well, you can actually go into the firmware to change this, because this is not a virtual DJ problem per se. It just records whatever gets sent back to it. But these kind of complex controllers, there'll usually be settings inside the firmware, which basically be inside the hardware here, where you can change stuff. And if I go into the manual, the virtual DJ manual of this thing, over here, you can see if I go into auto input and recordings, it's actually telling me that if the level of the recording is low, you could increase that from the device settings menu. And so let's see what that means. That's this link. So that's actually the manual by Denon for this unit, and it actually tells about the hardware settings menu, how you go into it and stuff like that. But most importantly for us, the USB output level. So you can set that from 0 dB, which is the default, which is why it's currently really low, and you can set it all the way up to plus 20 dB. So let's see if we can do that. So to do that, I need to do a few things on the controller. As you can see, if I go back up here, I need to start it up in a specific way. So let's do that first. So I'll shut it off, and then I'll turn it back off again while holding two specific buttons for 3 seconds. So now I'm in this weird mode where I can adjust these things, and then I scroll back down here, and then I can see I actually need to push the Q button on deck 2, and then use the encoder for for files to get it back. Here's where it was. So that's what I need to do. So select those while I hold deck 2Q. So I'll do that. Hold the Q2 down, and then read the. So I'll turn it all the way up, and then it actually shows on the meter on deck 2 that it's now plus 20 dB. I'm pretty sure that's going to be too much, but that's just so we can tell the difference. So I do that, and I go back out of this settings menu by clicking back, and then I'm back, and then probably just select the deck for it to work, will be my guess. Something like that. So if I go back to my, it gets a little weird here when you go out of the menu, but let's see if I can get control back to the actual thing here. Do I have it now? No. So let me see what happens if I click that. Nothing. And click back. I might have to restart the controller again, so I'll do that. Like this. And now I have control again. So that's, you don't do this often. And of course, remember, this is just for this specific hardware that I did this. But let's see what the results are. So again, I'm gonna record. Now I'm gonna record without this setting first, and then I'm gonna add that setting again to see if we have actually boosted the output over USB that's coming back from the controller. So let's try going back to record and click start recording. And I'll play my file, and that'll just be recorded inside Virtual DJ because the the input has not been added to the audio setup yet. Wow, I can see it. Now it's been unadded. And I stopped the recording. That you could see I couldn't get my button back because I've turned it on and off and stuff like that. But we managed to put it on anyway. So that's fine. So let's see what actually happened to the recording. So this one. So now you can see it actually gets turned even higher up in volume when the setting is added to record everything from the controller. So this kind of fixes the problem. Of course I need to adjust it. Let's just listen to it. So this is just DJ recording. And the recording for and back to just virtual DJ. So as you can see, this was actually fixed by changing the settings in the firmware inside the unit. So it's not really a virtual DJ problem, but this is how you will normally fix these kind of things on this type of complex controllers. Of course, like I said, it'll be different how you do it on these controllers, so you need to look into the firmware manual, but it's usually linked from the virtual DJ manual if there are these kind of issues. But this is definitely worth noting and looking into. Final thing is, does this recording, when it's boosted, I realize I need to lower it a little bit because I put it all the way up to plus 20 dB. So maybe it's, I don't know, plus 12 dB or something like that. When I then do that, so it's about the same as recording it directly inside Virtual DJ, will the recording be the same? Not necessarily, because the mixing of the sound of the audio, if you will, is done inside the unit. It might not work exactly the same as, or sound exactly the same as it does inside Virtual DJ. So you need to test which one you like better, and if you like the inside the Virtual DJ one better, you need to decide if you can then live with not getting your mic recorded or your input recorded or whatever. So that's something to look into. But generally, this is what is causing the issues on complex controllers, and this is what you could look into to try fixing it.